Yo, can you ask Alex to give me three juggable items? Okay, yeah, he can just hand them in here, whatever, because they don't think I could juggle.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to get your shoes.
Oh, hey, good looks, bro.
All right, got you, bro.
All right, peace.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 15 of Mics Are Hot on Racing America. I'm Alanis King, and alongside me is Monica Palumbo. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Monica, how are you?
I'm doing great. What is happening, party people? How are we feeling?
You know what's happening? We are having Rajah Caruth on the show today.
I love that. He's going to be a great guest, a lot of insight, a young driver, which we are all aware of.
Rajah is racing in the NASCAR Truck Series right now, and he actually got his first win earlier this year. And the theme of our show today is history makers, and that is what Rajah is.
Yeah, he really is. And he's also made a splash in the Xfinity Series as well. So it's going to be neat to hear his side of the story and how he got started, because his career is very interesting. If you haven't heard it, he started with iRacing and later on in life. So, you know, a lot of these drivers that we know and recognize that have come up through the ranks, they all start at, 4, 5, 6 years old. And he got his career later, but he's shot up quickly. So it will be neat to catch up with him.
He's also so nice, and I just cannot wait for y'all to hear him and see him because he's so sweet. My neighbor, she did an internship with NASCAR, and she brought it up one day, and I was like, oh, no way, who's your favorite driver? And she said, Rajah Caruth. And I said, let me send him a message. And so I sent Rajah a message and told him that, and he immediately responded, and he sent me like a little selfie with a peace sign, and he was like, tell your neighbor I said hey and thank you. And I was like, that's so sweet to just appreciate everyone who likes you, because when you get to a certain level, a lot of people are your fans and a lot of people like you. And to appreciate everyone individually takes a lot of time, but to do that is just like really sweet and caring. Yeah. And so I'm a big Rajah fan. I was so excited for him when he won earlier this year. But before he gets here, we have other things to talk about. Dover happened this weekend and Monica was there. Monica, how was Dover?
Oh man, the Monster Mile. It was awesome, I have to say. So the weather was iffy Friday for the ARCA race and Saturday for the Xfinity race. It was chilly, and then drastically and thankfully the sun came out on Sunday. It was in the low, to me it felt like high 80s, but it was beautiful. The sun came out and it was a packed house. So if you think about it, Dover hasn't had a true race weekend due to weather, and I feel like it's been years.
It's been a long time. Plus COVID. There was just a lot of bad luck with Dover for years.
Totally. So it just felt like Dover's back. Well, hey, Portia, I see you coming in the back. But it just felt like Dover was back. The energy was high. It was slammed. I got to MC NASCAR Trackside Live alongside Jose Castillo.
I love Jose.
I do too. He's awesome. And we had an amazing, star-studded lineup with the pole sitter, Kyle Busch. We had Jimmy Johnson, William Byron, Martin Truex Jr., and then a bunch of Hall of Famers, Richard Petty, Dale Inman, and Donnie Allison. So it was awesome. And I thought the racing was great. A lot of green flag lead changing. And of course, Denny taking home yet another win. And we're only in, I was about to say May. Are we in May yet? No,
not yet.
May.
We will be, I think, when this... Will we be when this publishes?
Yeah, when this airs, we're turning May. So
we'll be in May.
Yeah. So it's still early in the season. And there he goes winning. Well, his third, technically fourth, because he won the Clash.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff. I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff this weekend. Denny called his shot on his podcast. He said, I'm going to win this weekend. And then he was up there leading and I was like, he's going to win. Because I think so much of driving, when you're that caliber of driver, you're someone like Denny Hamlin or someone like Kyle Busch, is you go into a weekend and if your car is good enough and you think you're going to win, you can just win. Right. Yeah. And I understand that that's an oversimplification, but when Kyle Busch goes to Bristol and says, I am going to sweep all 3 races, the probability of that is so low. You have like 40 drivers per field, 3 different fields. You have to win all 3 of them, right? He's going to do
done
it
it.
because he says, I'm going to sweep, and that's what he wants to do. If he has a car that can do it and nothing goes wrong, like his pit stops don't go wrong, nothing happens, he can do it because there is just a mentality of going into a weekend knowing you're going to win. And then he actually said on his podcast, he was like, I can't do that every weekend because then it loses its power. But if you just are so set on, I am going to win this weekend, you can.
Yeah,
You
I
really
think
can.
they all go in with confidence, right? And you have to. But with these races, especially in Dover, they practiced and qualified when it was way cooler temperatures. And then so it was kind of like they had to get their feet wet, so to speak, once they got out there on Sunday. I know the main concern was tire fall off. We saw a lot of smoke. We saw a lot of fires in Dover. And it's a tough track. There's even banking in the straightaways there. So it's technically a really hard track for these guys.
Well, I think Dover gets a lot of slack that it shouldn't get, right? Because at the end of the day, Dover races are long and they're very difficult on drivers. And sometimes, from a general perspective, not a ton of stuff happens in between those crashes, right? And so sometimes Dover gets a lot of slack. People are like, Dover needs to be shorter, blah, 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 blah. No, if you know about what is going on at Dover, Dover is so fascinating to watch. And my friend Aiden McHugh, he's actually the lead engineer on Sam Mayer's #1 car. So if you watched the Texas Motor Speedway race recently and you saw the literal photo finish, that was his car. And
Yeah.
Aiden every single week writes a story for my other friends at a website called The Autopian. And he writes a story about what to expect this weekend in NASCAR in general, but also the Xfinity series from an engineer's perspective. And his story about Dover was so fascinating for 2 main reasons. I was just blown away by the amount of cool knowledge in it. One, when you have an asphalt track, which most of the NASCAR calendar is, asphalt is laid down in a big, thick sheet, right? So it's all the same sheet. So when the racetrack gets weathered and it wears kind of together, right? Dover is concrete. So
Yeah.
Dover is laid in slabs like a sidewalk. So when Dover weathers, it weathers like a sidewalk. So imagine like a tree root. This is what Aiden said. Imagine a tree root growing up in a sidewalk and how the sidewalk becomes uneven.
Yeah.
On a very minute level, that happens at Dover. That's fascinating. It wears so differently from a normal asphalt track. The other thing that is so interesting about Dover, because it's concrete, that Aiden also said, is I have a mustache
I
from
was just
Portia, my
about to
cat.
say that.
I have a mustache. The other thing that Aiden said is so interesting about Dover is the type of friction Dover is. So let's think about an old track surface. Let's think about old Atlanta, right? You had a lot of tire wear and a lot of friction against the tires because the surface is rough. That's abrasive friction. So it's like rubbing sandpaper together.
Mhm.
Dover, because it's concrete, is adhesive friction. So you put down rubber and you pick up rubber. When the tires are hot, you're putting it down during a green flag run. When the caution comes out and everything cools off, you're picking up that tire rubber. That's why you clean off the track. So what was really interesting this weekend, we saw Kaz Grala's wreck. He comes out of the turn. And in the turn, he was having trouble in the turn, and he was actually correcting that trouble he had in the turn, which on a normal track makes total sense. If your car is going one way, you have to counter steer, you have to right your car. His car gripped up at the wrong time while he was counter steering, and it gripped up and it sent him straight into the wall, because that's Dover. You have that adhesion and your tires just grip up randomly and it shoots you into the wall if you're correcting something.
That's wild.
Dover's so challenging. It's
Thank
so
you.
challenging, and people don't give Dover enough credit.
Thank you for all of that insight. I mean, that's good information to know. And
Thank you,
what is
Aiden.
yeah, thank you, Aiden. What is so cool too is interviewing these drivers on a consistent basis. And generally, one of the questions that the race fans like to know or want us to ask, or sometimes I open it up to the fans to ask, they want, what's your favorite track? That's a super common question. And a lot of these drivers say Dover Motor Speedway. They love it.
They love that
Some of them,
monster statue.
yeah, some of them have described it as a roller coaster. And I don't know if you saw the ending of the Xfinity Series race. Ryan Truex, when he came out, he couldn't even breathe. He was trying to catch his breath during his post-race interview because the racing there is so intense. So these drivers, they love that. They feed off of that. But speaking of, how cool was it that Ryan Truex won his first Xfinity Series race at his home track last year? Yeah, and won it again this year. And so when I interviewed Martin Truex on Sunday, he was all smiles. It's hard to get Martin to like be super smiley all the time, but he was genuinely so excited for his brother and at their home track, and they had tons of family there. So it was a special moment for the Truex clan. But I know it was a lot of pressure for Martin too, right? For him to get a back-to-back win.
I mean, that was so cool. I really enjoyed seeing it. It was so cool to see him get out and be so happy, but also so tired. Like, he was happy, but he wasn't just like super energetic, because he was like, I'm tired, man.
Yeah.
Like, that was hard. And it's just cool to see people do well. It was also really cool to watch Carson Wappel, who is running a few races in the 88. I think this weekend was his second start. Dover was his second start in the Xfinity Series, and he almost won. It was very cool to see him do so well. And I really like what Junior Motorsports is doing with that 88 car, kind of making it a star car, having people like Carson come in, having people like Bubba Pollard come in.
Yeah.
And that 88 car runs well. It's kind of like a Trackhouse Project 91, but for the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, that makes total sense. If you're not familiar with Carson, his dad is Travis Wappel, who was a Truck Series champion years ago. And it's, and his dad's just out there bebopping around, walking with fans. Yeah, he was just hanging out there in the pits. And, it's cool to see him back at the track too. Cause I remember Travis from when I first started in the NASCAR series. So it's cool to see him.
What's really funny about some weekends is we always have game night at my house. And so we have game night like once a month. And if they schedule game night during the race, they all know that game night doesn't start until the race is over. So they got there before the race is over, and we're all sitting at the table with the game in the center of the table. And I was like, okay, what game do we want to play first? And they were like, well, we know we're not starting until the race ends, because it was the Cup race. And I was like, I'm so glad y'all recognize that. We are not playing any games until this is over. And then as soon as Denny won, I was like, all right, we're good. Denny won. He did what he was going to do. But they just know we're gonna watch the race.
You laid it out for them.
We have expectations, right?
Those are the rules in Alanis's house. You got to wait after the race.
Exactly. Another big topic from this weekend was aero blocking. And for people who don't know about aero blocking, basically aero blocking has existed for a long time. It's basically you manipulate the air as the leader to make it very, very hard for the second place car to catch you and pass you. So we saw with Kyle Larson, who was catching Denny Hamlin at the end of the Dover race, we saw him make up a ton of ground. And then once he got near Denny, he really struggled to close that final bit of the gap and pass him. And he ended up getting second, and Denny won. And so this was a big topic of conversation, because with the next gen car, we've seen sometimes on road courses, sometimes on short tracks, that car following the leader makes up a ton of ground, and then they get stuck right there and they can't pass. And so people were like, well, Kyle Larson was faster, but he just it was aero blocking. He should have won. And Denny was on his podcast saying, aero blocking has always been a thing. I just did what I needed to do. I won the race. I saved up, I saved my stuff. I was ready to manipulate and keep the lead ahead of him. So, Monica, what are you thinking about aero blocking?
I mean, I think that you got to do what you got to do to win. I don't have any beef with that. That's not fair. You can't do that. No, they're there. That's their job, to win a race. It's all about strategy. I think that's part of that's a strategy move, right? You know,
Mhm.
if you're and Kyle has said it before in an interview where he's done that as well. But they're here to win, and they're making moves to win. So I'm all for it. You got to do what you got to do. What do you
Y-
think?
You have to use every tool that is available to you. I also think on a level we don't notice as much because it's not as proper, right? It's not as like whiny and like put it on paper, I'm complaining. Like you see in Formula 1, if Formula 1 drivers or team principals or teams don't like something, they're very formal about it. They're like, we're going to call a meeting and we're going to talk about it and we're going to put our complaints in writing, and it's all very political. But those politics happen everywhere. And those politics also happen in NASCAR because, not calling out Denny specifically, I think anybody would do it. But if Denny was that second place car, he would have said, aero blocking is a big issue and
You
we need
think?
to fix it. I think he
I
would have.
don't know.
I
I
think
don't
he
know.
would have.
I see what you're
Maybe I'm
saying.
wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but not Denny specifically. Anybody, if they were the second place car, would have been like, couldn't do anything. He was aero blocking me. Couldn't do anything. He was aero blocking me. Aero blocking is an issue. If you win, you're like, I was aero blocking. It's part of it, right? It's just, it's smaller, less discernible levels of politics, I think. But if you disagree, I'm interested to hear.
Yeah, no, I mean, I see what you're saying, right? It's sometimes we all hate losing.
We
Who
all
wants
hate
to be
losing.
second, right? I mean, if you get a DNF or if you wreck out or if something happens and you lose, that's one thing. But when you're second place in racing, yeah, I don't know if I can say this word, your butt hurt, right? So you're gonna say whatever to try to change that. I don't know. I see Denny owning it if Kyle
Okay.
Larson or someone
I was
does that to
talking in
him.
generalities more than like
Right,
Denny himself.
then the
I
driver,
also,
yeah.
I don't know, I could see Denny being like, oh, aero blocking is an issue. It's an issue. Fix it. Let's fix it. Let's fix it. But then it's like, it really just depends on what place you're in that
Yeah.
weekend. But this has been a big topic. I'm interested to see where it goes because I think NASCAR does do a good job of listening to what people are saying and trying to react to what people are saying. And I think that's a very noble thing to do. I think sometimes it leads to changes happening too fast, like we saw with Fontana. Fontana, people were complaining about the quality of Fontana. And they're like, all right, we'll make it into a short track. Now short tracks aren't racing as well, and old Fontana would actually done pretty well with the next gen car.
Yeah.
So I think for the most part it's really good to listen to what everybody's saying. There are a few cases where it's like, we could have left it, we could have suffered a little bit longer, right?
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see what kind of developments happen. I'm interested to see how soon something happens to maybe fix this aero blocking issue. But at the end of the day, it's always existed, right?
Yeah.
And it's always going to exist to some degree.
It is. Yeah. And I feel like they are listening to the
Mm-hmm.
fans and to the drivers and trying to make that everybody happy cohesively,
Mm-hmm.
which is impossible. You cannot make everybody
You
happy.
literally can't.
But they're trying. They're doing so many things with changing the schedule, changing the tracks. A lot of tracks have undergone millions of dollar renovations for the fan experience to
Mm-hmm.
up the ante on that. They did the Clash out at the LA Memorial Coliseum. They're trying everything to do something different, right? To bring
Yeah.
excitement and to change things up, to make things kind of more on an equal playing field as well, for the drivers. Then that's more so with the next gen car. But yeah, they're making moves, and I have to appreciate that. They're being innovative.
Something I thought was really cool facility wise at Texas Motor Speedway, because I was at Texas a couple of weeks ago. Something I thought was really cool facility wise was that they kind of carved out an area on the front stretch where it's just like a standing bar area
Yeah.
where you can come from the concession area and just walk out to a standing bar area and watch the cars go by. And it was actually really cool for not only fans, but also people working the event. People who were working concessions would just like walk out for a couple of minutes to watch the race and then go back in. There was one person I saw who was working, I feel like some kind of like cotton candy station or something like that. And they were out at the bar and they were like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, I've never seen this before. This is
Oh, yeah.
wild. And I was like, yeah, it is. And they were like, I need earplugs. And I was like, yeah, bring those next time. But then they walked back in to continue working. And so it was a cool way for not only fans, but also people who were working to come out and just have this like open area to stand in that wasn't assigned seating. And it also made for a good like stopping point, waypoint when you are going from your seats to the bathroom or your seats to the infield or the spotter stand to the infield or whatever. It made a good spot to wait for the next caution. You know, and then continue walking. So I used it a bunch. I thought it was really great. It was never too packed, like because people were rotating in and out of it, going to their seats, coming out. You know, there was never a time when it was overcrowded. There were a bunch of people there, but like it was the right size for the facility. And I thought it was just a really nice waypoint between everywhere you were going.
Yeah, there's a lot of tracks that are doing that. And Charlotte Motor Speedway has one at turn 1. And it's free for anybody with the grandstand ticket. I even try to push it when I'm actually there at the track on the big NASCAR TV. Like, come on over here.
Yeah.
Because they have sand and they have these little lounge chairs and they have 2 bars. And it's a great little chill spot. If you just want to like have your own space and relax for a little bit, and then like you said, walk around. But there's several tracks that are doing this. Martinsville, they have a whole grassy area between turns 1 and 2. And even in Dover, they have like a grassy knoll there on the front stretch. So there's a lot of tracks that are doing this. They're offering that up. So if you're heading to a race anytime soon, they have everything laid out on their website. And if it's not clear, just keep digging. It's in there somewhere.
You'll find it. Another renovation thing that has been a big conversation topic for probably 2 weeks now is the scoring pylons. They just disappeared. I went to Texas Motor Speedway. I go to Texas Motor Speedway and I'm like, something's missing. Something's missing. And then the race starts and I'm like, there's no scoring pylon. I can't see anything. Where is everybody? And so at Texas Motor Speedway and at Talladega, they took out the scoring pylons. And I think this is another area where I'm really glad that NASCAR listens because we were all talking about it. And I am not to be too hopeful, but I think when I go to Texas Motor Speedway next year, there's going to be a scoring pylon. And so I was just really happy. I was like, oh, I think NASCAR is going to listen to all of us, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to talk about it with a good attitude. I'm not going to be mad about it, but
I
think
mad.
they're going to
Come on.
Okay. But also I want to be constructive. And I want us to construct a new scoring pylon.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I want to be open-minded. Okay. I'm trying to see where you're going here, but
no,
I mean, no, and our team was warned. They said, hey, the pylon's gone. You have to look at the big screen. There's like a ticker there, but my brain is programmed to look for the pylon at every race. Rumor is it's a rumor. Pylons should be coming back where they have been taken away. They were taken away because they were so old. And I don't think they were maybe working as correctly. This is all a rumor. Don't throw my name out there.
Heard.
But I'm gonna manifest new pylons out there. I need them too. And the drivers enjoy them for work. We're all looking for it.
So. The drivers are pylon watchers.
Yeah.
Like
it just makes
a lot of people. I think a lot of people don't know, but literally under green, they look at the pylon to see who's around them.
Yeah.
Because your spotter tells you a lot. Spotters, I know how to spot. I spotted. Your spotter tells the driver who's around you. Like I would tell my driver, Brad, like this car's in front of you, this car's behind you, not in front of you. He knows who's in front of him, but this car's behind you, this car's on fresh tires, blah, 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 blah. But like they also like to watch the pylon. I think the hardest thing logistically about not having a pylon was I like the big screens. The big screens are great. I watch them all the time. but they only show like 5 places on them.
Yeah.
And you have to wait for them to rotate. A
Yes.
pylon will show you a couple dozen places.
Or you can't
And
see them from every place in the grandstands.
exactly. And
Yeah.
when you're waiting for that 5 driver thing to rotate, you miss like 2 laps.
Yeah.
Waiting for your driver to come around, right?
Yeah.
Or waiting for the driver you're watching to come around. And it's not enough. You don't see enough of the places.
Yeah, you're so right. And drivers do watch that even when they're driving, especially at Charlotte Motor Speedway or Texas, where it's like the big screen out there at the track. I remember one time Jimmy Johnson came up to me after a race and was like, every time I was trying to look at the lineup on the big screen at Charlotte Motor Speedway, your big face was up there.
Your big
While
face
he was
was up.
driving. I don't think he said it like that, but he's like, all I could see was Monica. And I took it as, oh my gosh, you just saw my big face as he's trying to work and like, see where he is. And here I am. Hey, everybody.
Jimmy Johnson has nightmares of Monica on the big screen.
Like, girl, I'm trying to see where I am in this race. Get off the big screen.
Jimmy Johnson wakes up in a cold sweat and he has no idea where he is.
There she is
And he's just like, Monica, not Monica again. No
Yeah.
way. So the theme of today's show is not Monica on the big screen and how we have nightmares about it. The theme of today's show is history makers. And obviously Rajah, who's coming on in a second, is one of those. But Monica, give me a quick rundown. What kind of history makers are you enjoying watching in NASCAR right now and also maybe in the past?
Well, I know our brains are probably thinking drivers, but I think this person is legendary. Well, these two people are legendary, but it's history making in NASCAR are these new teams that are blossoming, right? Like we've got Trackhouse Racing with Pitbull. That is history makers. This has never happened before, of these celebrities coming in and co-owning a team, bring a whole different fan base, a whole different culture and vibe. Also 2311, legendary. Michael Jordan coming to the track. Are you kidding me? This is history making. We're going to be talking about this 10, 20 years from now, saying, do you remember back in whatever year they got involved in NASCAR? But I will go into drivers real quick with the Venturini Motorsports and the ARCA series. They, majority of the time, I know they switch in and out their drivers, but there's sometimes where there's all female drivers out there in one race. And, that was unheard of years ago. So it's really cool to see these up and coming female drivers, bringing in little girls that are at the track, getting them interested in NASCAR. It's really cool to see.
I totally agree. And we had a history maker on this podcast this season, Haley Deegan, and she was fantastic. I actually have a manual Ford Mustang in my driveway right now, and we were talking about manual Mustangs with Haley. So if you want to listen to that episode, we did do that episode like a couple months ago. It's on the Racing America YouTube channel. You can go listen. But right now, we have Rajah.
Oh, yeah.
You got some goodies over there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Stop playing with
look
them.
at that. So if you're wondering if Rajah had a secret talent,
We keep going, Rajah. Keep going.
Hold up. I
he
lost
can juggle.
Hold up. Thank you.
That was awesome. That was fast too.
He just lost a ball and he's trying to get it.
There he goes. We just see dun 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 dun. Dun.
This is no, Monica, you got it. You are good.
Y'all wasn't believing me, so.
No, I believe in literally.
What even are these?
Rajah Caruth.
Who knows? I believe in literally everything you say, Rajah. I believe in you as a person. So, do you do computer games or anything like that? Like, are you what do you do?
I like basketball. I like watching basketball a lot. It's playoffs right now, so it's entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
Football too. I mean, I'm a sports fan.
Okay.
My friends won't show me how to gamble.
Don't get started in that.
Gambling is an industry, Rajah, and industries exist to make money. So you are just giving them money by gambling.
Right, but I can win money.
Okay.
I learned how to gamble on slot machine because I went to Vegas for New Year's.
Okay.
And so I learned how to use them little machines.
Mm-hmm.
What did you play?
Right. I don't know what they call it. I just know I won $80. I was like, say less, and then I lost it.
And then you lost all of it because it's designed to make money. It's a system designed to make
is.
you lose money. But starting from the beginning, not just now, when you first told your friends and family you wanted to be a race car driver, how did they react?
I think the thing is, it wasn't like one moment that I told them.
Yeah.
That, like, all my aunts, my uncles, my little cousins, like, since I was probably way younger than Keelan or Brexton, like racing was all I really cared about. Like, I would bring cars around for family holidays, watch racing on the TV. Sundays around church would be, watching the Cup races or nationwide races, and that's really how it was to start. And that way, when I started really wanting to try to build a career, it wasn't really a surprise to anybody, just because they knew that I loved cars since I was, a little kid. So
That makes total sense. I had people who made fun of me because I watched NASCAR, and they were just like, "That's weird."
Oh, I mean, I had that in school for sure, but I'm just saying from like
I had that too.
a family perspective, it was all love.
Yeah, but like you said, it was a whole different way of getting in the industry, right? Like you weren't, racing at 5 or 6 years old. I read somewhere that you saw the Pixar movie Cars
Yes,
at a
I
young
did see that.
age, and you fell
At a
in
young
love with
age.
NASCAR. Seriously, I think it's so cool. And you were carrying around Matchbox cars. So who was your driver back then when you were a little kid?
Oh, Jimmy Johnson, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been a social media picture of me in a Jimmy Johnson costume when I was like 7. That was my guy growing up.
I love that. And then you got the call from the NASCAR Drive for Diversity program when you were doing the NASCAR Ignite series. What was that moment like for you, right? Finally kind of getting that opportunity because, you didn't grow up behind the wheel. You got behind the wheel virtually. And then they saw talent in you. Were like, hey, let's give you a shot in Legends. How was that like?
That was a pretty surreal, really, year or two for me, just because I was probably a sophomore going into junior year of high school, and by that point, right, you start looking for where you're going to go to school for college, and so at that time it was kind of now or never for getting this racing thing started, and so fortunately it worked out to with the timing of everything. I was just within the age requirement to do the Ignite series. Just within the age requirement to make the Drive for Diversity program, and the rest is kind of history. So it was super, super fortunate with the timing of everything, and a lot of people helped me get started to iRace period, and then definitely to get started racing legend cars.
And you talked about earlier Kevin Harvick's son, Keelan, Kyle Busch's son, Brexton. A lot of race car drivers start at like age 5, and some of them who have parents who are race car drivers who can help them out and give them all kinds of tips. If I'm a teenager starting my racing career, my first thought is, oh my goodness, so many other people have years of experience and also people around them who know a lot about this. Did you have to kind of get yourself out of that mindset? Were you ever in that mindset?
I think it for me, I kind of changed it a little bit the last year or so, because I already know I'm really inexperienced, and I'll never catch up to the people I'm racing against. Like, even guys that started when they were 10 or 11, I'm still years behind them. And so for me, I think at first I drove myself crazy over just like trying to work super hard, and it helped me out with some things for sure, but I think I just treated it too much a certain way. And so this season, I've kind of changed my perspective really to just focusing on myself and not really being pressed about like, oh, I got to do X, Y, and Z compared to this person. Just focusing on my own trajectory, because it's been like this.
Yeah, it has.
So just internal focus and preparation has been kind of my mental approach this year, and it's worked out so far.
I'm so curious too how you're able to do it all, right? You're a senior, is that right, in college?
Yes, ma'am.
Too?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I think for me, it's been, especially the last year or so, I've learned just the importance of having my priorities in order and just knowing what's most important to me, and just learning how to say no to things and not overbooking myself. My time management is a process I'm still trying to work on, and just being more and more punctual to things. But besides that, really, it's just I write down stuff a lot, and I start my days with just the same routine, whether it's at the tech center in Concord, at the gym, or going to the go-kart track here every other Thursday, or going and playing soccer or basketball, or going for a trail run on Tuesday morning. So it's nice to have that consistency, and that just helps everything else fall into line, because I have those priorities. And then, when the back part of my days hit, then it's like, all right, well, boom, I don't know, I'll hop on iRacing, hop on the PlayStation, call my girl, call the homies, or just do whatever, So it's nice.
So are you graduating this May?
No, because the graduation is literally on the day of Darlington. Like, we race Darlington. I'm gonna graduate in December, so
Okay.
it's nice because I get some more time to do some coursework, and not have as crazy of a semester, because I've had senioritis for a while now. So it's nice to kind of spread that out, and that way I can walk across the stage in December.
Rajah, you talked about your career being like this, right? Like straight up. Do you think your trajectory has been like different? And how and why have you been able to get so good to where you can compete with these people who have been around this sport for a long time in such a short amount of time?
That's interesting, because my first time racing on iRacing was like when I turned 16 in 2018. And so a year later was literally my first legend car races, after having tested twice. Mm-hmm. And so a super quick, literally scared straight kind of curriculum of just like getting right into the thick of things. So I don't know. I think what helps me is like I have such a knowledge over the sport of NASCAR from my years of like reading encyclopedias to watching every practice, every happy hour, every qualifying session, like watching NASCAR Now on ESPN, like a lot of the old shows that ESPN had, or the Speed Channel, just a lot of just knowledge that I developed from a young age, from just wanting to take it in. I can think about watching like Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain, like when I was like 10, So it's just like crazy to remember that. And I think about like in school, like I would, not knowing anything about it, like I can think about, I had a cinematic arts class in high school, and we had a lot of computer work for it. And there's this YouTube channel. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want it to get taken down, because it's still like a holy grail of nice little videos. But it would have onboard videos and stuff. And so I would just play it in the background and not really pay any mind to it, but just the engine sounds cool. And like I just go and click it and watch a couple laps and then go back to what I was doing. So I think that just helps, of just having overall knowledge of the sport from a fan's perspective. As far as the driving, I mean, I don't know. I think I spent a lot of hours racing online, and I spent a lot of time over the last 5 years around the sport, being around people that have done it for years. And a lot of people have helped me get better. Mm-hmm. So in brief, I would say just overall my enthusiasm and interest in the sport from a fan's perspective. And then also just the help of other people that have been through it, had mistakes. I think about people in the Drive for Diversity program, like Mark Green, a very accomplished race car driver, and he helped me a lot from my first legend car races to my late model races to my first ARCA starts and even my first Xfinity race. Same with people like Bobby Gill or Johnny Allen from the late model side of things, to obviously Bubba or Corey LaJoy or a lot of the Cup guys now have been a big help to me. And same with Nick. We've been teammates for a long time, and he's helped me kind of develop as well.
Did you, the first time you did a double file start in like a big kid car, like a NASCAR car, were you like kind of like really sick, nervous, or were you not thinking 100%. About it? Okay, because I would have been sick to my stomach.
Yeah, so my first ARCA East race at New Smyrna in 2021, I feel like I did good. I qualified like 7th, I think, for my first. I didn't get to test any of those cars, so literally was just first laps were in practice, and qualified 7th. And I was like, okay, that's pretty decent for the amount of cars they had that time. Because at that point, like, Taylor was driving, Samuel was driving, Max Gutierrez, Mason Diaz, a lot of good short track guys. And so I remember I got nose damage on like the first start of the race for a stack up, and my gauges turned red, and I like panicked because I'd never had a red like temperature gauge. In reality, it was not an issue because it didn't like blow up or whatever, but that was really my first like experience of like, oh, this is the big boy stuff, So yeah, a lot of the things I didn't know until I was in those situations.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. It's not like an iRacing like we've talked about before, Alanis, where you just like hit a button, right?
And you
And
reset.
restart. I mean, it's live, it's happening, and you got to deal with it then. But I was out there on the grid a few of your, track debuts in ARCA. Me and my co-host are always trying to get, interviews before the races. And I noticed how focused you were.
He's
Like,
so locked in.
yeah, it was, everyone else is kind of standing around. You would have your, earphones
I used to do
on.
that. Yeah, I used to do that a lot.
Yeah. And super like zone in, and they'd be like, go in for an interview. And I'm like, you know what? This man's he's going to work. Like, he's so focused. Let me just let him do his thing. Um, did you find that to help you to kind of ease the nerves, or have you changed up your pre-race kind of style as into getting into the zone?
Yeah, that definitely helped me quiet the noise just because of being just a new experience for me. I think personally, I'm a pretty low key, like not shy, but reserved person. So having to adjust to being with a camera in front of you, to having to interact with people and take pictures and things
Totally.
like that, like that was a very different experience for me, and just honestly like quite scary at times, because I think about like me in high school and middle school and kind of how I was as a student, as a kid, and that is a far reality from how you have to present yourself as an athlete. And so I wore headphones like all the time because I just kind of wanted to be in my own world. Because honestly, I was nervous, I was scared, not necessarily of the race, because like I would prepare, I would show up knowing that I did what I could to be the best driver that I could be, but just for the other stuff of just having to be, more than a racer. I think that was really why I did that, just to get in the zone for sure, but just like kind of quiet all the nerves and just kind of funnel everything down. But now, I'm pretty. I don't want to say I was unapproachable. I think now I'm usually just chilling before the race anyway. Like it's not. You can like now. I think I can talk to more people before the start of races because I'm just more used to it now. Now years along the line. But when I first started, I would wear headphones all the time. I would just be kind of just like nervous and just like,
Yeah. And I don't think you've ever been unapproachable. I think it did come across as you were just trying to get in the zone. And out of respect for you, we would, let you do your thing.
I
So,
think what was really interesting that I noticed at Circuit of the Americas was the track walk is 3.41 miles. And I went up to Raja twice and I was like, Raja, you want to be in my video? And the whole 3.41 miles, Raja was like going in detail through this racetrack. Like he was so focused. He was like, can you come get me later? Can you come get me later? I was like, dude, you've been out here for an hour. What are you
I
still
got a lot
talking
of
about?
steps
And
in. I got a
he
lot of
was
steps in.
no, your focus was so impressive because I was like, you are still like full on talking about every little aspect of what's out here. Like it was impressive.
Yeah, I had to, and Coda didn't really go the way I wanted it to. I barely missed the top 10 in qualifying, and so
Mm-hmm.
kind of had a not good start to the race, and then got some damage and um, finished 15th, which is our worst finish of the year. Which on paper it's not terrible, but it definitely leaves a bad taste in my mouth just because of the preparation and how proficient I felt like I had become
Yeah.
at my road racing. Because I think you got to be good everywhere to be a championship contender, and I know that I'm one of the guys to beat at the mile and a half. So I just the short tracks and the road courses is my last piece to my puzzle. So
Yeah.
um, I think to your point, Alanis, I don't know, I treat it serious, and I think
Yeah.
some guys don't really do it, and it works different for everybody, right? I think from a talent level, some people don't have to do that much; they can just show up and be fine. Um, I can't really speak on my own talent level. I just know I care a lot. I just watch racing a lot because I find it fun. I drive on iRacing a lot because it's fun above all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it helps me get better. So that's my perspective on it.
Yeah. I think your data absorption and your just observation and just the amount of stuff you do is really impressive.
yeah, you're definitely putting the work in. Even when you're not racing, I still, Raja is out there taking it all in, studying. I even saw you in Martinsville, hanging out over Hendrick Motorsports had their 40th anniversary
Mm-hmm.
party up top. And
Yeah, I was
so
just trying to be low key up there. I was trying to
I
hang
know my
out.
camera guy was in your face. I was like, leave him alone. He's
I
trying
was
to
just chilling. I don't need
watch
nobody
the
saying no
race.
conspiracy theories and stuff, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
but no,
I know
that
you
was
were
so cool.
studying.
That was
Yeah.
so cool. And honestly, like my relationship with Mr. H has been so cool. Because I remember the first time I met him and stuff, and now having a relationship with him and his wife, Miss Linda, and everybody at HMS is so cool. And it was nice to meet like some of their employees that day.
Yeah.
And just knowing the history and how significant Martinsville is to that family, that team, and how many different people, the Hendrick name touches was really cool.
But it's been a big year for you. I mean, you've got your first win this year in Vegas. I mean, how was that? I mean, take us through that last lap and your emotion afterwards.
I think about that race and that night, everything just kind of worked out. And it wasn't trying super hard. It just things just worked out. And not every race win, not every race obviously is going to go according to plan. Like definitely, I feel like the '98 was the best truck that night, but we were able to execute and do things at a just a better clip, and it worked out for us. So it was just a great day. Great to have both of my parents there, to experience that with them. Called my sister after, called my girlfriend after. It was a very fun little time there, and I wish I had just savored it a little bit more because I was more just all right, just wanting to replicate it. But otherwise, it was just a great experience. So hopefully we can replicate it this weekend at Kansas, and I'll take it in a little more.
Where did you put that trophy? I'm so curious.
Oh, it's in my house right now. It's under
Okay.
my TV. I got my
It's
helmet
under your
there.
TV.
Yeah, under my TV in the living room.
You got to
So
see it every day, right? It's a reminder.
yeah.
I remember I was so happy for you. I was like, this is so exciting. And the first thing I did was I took a picture of my TV and I texted my neighbor because I don't know if you remember, but I told you probably like a year ago that I talked to my neighbor and she did an internship at NASCAR. And I was like, oh, who's your favorite driver? And she said Rajah Caruth. And I was like, let me tell him. He's going to be so excited that my neighbor,
Cool,
I
yeah.
asked my neighbor who their favorite driver was, and they said Rajah Caruth. And I sent you a message, and you like very quickly sent back a selfie and said, tell him I said thanks. And I was like, that's so sweet. Like,
It's
that's
sweet.
exciting for people, right? Because we were talking about this before the show, Monica and I. When you get to a certain level, you have so many people cheering for you and so many fans that it can be hard to make time for everyone. And just the fact that you made time for my neighbor was really, really cool. So I sent her a picture of my TV and I was like, Rajah just won. And she was like, that's so cool. And when you won, you became the third Black driver to win in NASCAR's top 3 national series, which the theme of our show today is History Makers. And that was history. It was amazing. And I'm wondering, how often do you think about the importance of you being out there driving for people who are watching you?
I think, well, for a lot of athletes that are fortunate to have success, I think for us the history, the ramifications are never the main thing. The main
For
thing is the
sure.
passion, or maybe it's the talent, then comes the passion. And it was like that for me. Like I loved racing, regardless of the representation or lack thereof there was at the time. And fortunately, I've been able to make uh, kind of, I don't know, cracks in the armor of that, and make positive change. So it's just really special because I really cherish that responsibility because I'm just being authentic to myself and who I represent and where I'm from, and it's super cool. Just because I get to meet many different people from different racetracks and from different parts of the country, and just seeing the impact that I've had in a short period of time is really special. So I'm just thankful that I am the one that
Yeah.
gets to be a representative.
I think something Monica and I talk about a lot is especially when you're young, when you're a kid or a teenager, you look at things and when you see people who look like you doing those things, you're like, I can do that too. For me, when I was a teenager, I saw Monica working in NASCAR and I was
You're
like,
aging me,
Same,
Alanis.
same.
okay.
Miss
Rajah's like,
Cup.
I'm an old lady now.
you're
I
not an
remember that.
old lady. You are amazing. You're the best. But like me, I was like 18 years old, 16 years old, whatever. I was a kid and I was like, Monica is doing these things. Monica is out working in NASCAR. I can do that too. And Rajah, you are that for some people, for a lot of people. Like, is it heartwarming? Is there extra pressure? Do you have any interesting stories about that? Do you just feel old like Monica?
No, he's a young thing
Um,
over there.
yeah, well, I never really feel any pressure nowadays, externally. My pressure just comes from getting up on time, going to the gym, and making sure that I do the things, doing the best that I can, each day, to be the best driver that I can be, right? And just doing the thing well. That's where the pressure comes in, because you can always half-ass a workout. You can always like take it easy on a school assignment, or you can always, I don't know, drive a lap the way you're not supposed to, or not do a drill the way you're supposed to, right? And sure, you're still getting it in, but you're not doing it the right way. You're not doing it the best that you can,
Mhm.
or how it's designed to be. So that's where that focus, that pressure comes from me, is just doing the thing well and just giving all I got for that day. If I'm tired, I'm like, well, this is what I got, so I'm gonna make sure that I give that today, and then I can go to bed and be okay. I mean, otherwise, it's really gratifying, and I just feel thankful that I'm the person that people can look at, um,
I love that.
because I know how important it is.
I love
It's
that.
like, he's an old soul as a
Oh.
21-year-old. I like, you got a great mindset. Okay, we're going to switch gears though. Okay, Raja, we want to know, what was your first job?
My first job, so in DC, they have, for the public school system, they have this thing called the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program,
That is a tongue
MBY.
twister.
MBYSEP is the slogan. So I did that for a summer or two, and it's nice because you get to work different jobs, you be placed in different places or workplaces in the city based off of your ward. So I was whatever ward A Street is, A Street, Main Street, and so we did stuff, for I guess 1 or 2 years in high school. I was a host at the A Street Country Club, just a, I don't know, a restaurant on A Street, and
Okay, you would be
um,
good at that though. You would be really good at that. I feel like if people walked in, you would just like be very smooth with them.
well, I was super shy and quiet. So I
Really?
wasn't like probably the best for that job. I didn't work it that much either, but that was my first, I think, job outside of like cut or doing yard work or watering
Right.
plants for neighbors and stuff like that. Like that was my first jobs, early high school, being in DC. So
I guess I can see it now, but like before you said that, I never would have seen that. You being shy.
Yeah.
yeah, I was really, I can't, like, with friends and stuff. I mean, obviously you don't get shy, but I feel like, especially looking back, like in terms of how I felt internally, like I felt just, kind of not wanting to have the attention, or just kind of
Yeah.
wanted to do my own thing.
Yeah, and the hosting job, it forces you to converse with people, right? I mean, hey, how are you? Got two people come in. I've been a host before.
Exactly. And you
Just
have
watch
to
out.
initiate
Yes.
ugh.
Especially when the people
Yeah.
are hungry and they want to sit down right then and there. Woo!
Mm.
Yeah, watch out. Okay. So you born in Georgia, grew up in DC, now live in Charlotte. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, so I was born in Atlanta, but left shortly after. But I've got a lot of family there. I'm very frequently in Atlanta, and then I grew up in Brooklyn and DC. So my sister was born in Brooklyn. My grandma still lives there. I got some family there, and then spent most of my youth, like 10, 11 years in DC.
Okay. How do you like Charlotte?
So I live in Concord. So I've been
Okay.
in Concord, not in Charlotte proper. And it's been nice to have things be slower, but it was an adjustment because growing up a city kid, like, I mean, I would take the train every day,
I was about
Yeah.
to say, are you a train
Or take a
fan? I
bus.
love the train.
or walk or bike. And so that was an adjustment just from a transportation standpoint to drive everywhere. And I think culturally, it was a big shock for me, especially my first years, living out here, from living with my parents and my little sister in DC to living by myself, and
yeah.
working at the race shop every day and then working full work days, as a fresh 18-year-old out of college or out of high school, and being the only black person, the only person like under 25 or under 21. So it was very crazy from an existential standpoint, to start.
Yeah.
But I like Charlotte. I think whenever racing's done, which is hopefully a long time from now, I can't say I see myself in North Carolina just because of different places that I'd probably want to live or have a family at. But um, the North Carolina area is cool. I know I love the mountains. It's cool. I like it. It's slow for me, and so I like it with how busy our schedules are and how much we
Yeah.
travel. Just having a kind of slow paced, um, home is nice.
Yeah. That is a big change, right? Especially at that age and living by yourself. All right. Describe your style in one word. I don't know if this is personality style, clothing style, but you can take it however you want to.
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. I will say, I will say in terms of other drivers, I think I have the most drip out of every driver in Cup, Xfinity, and
Yes.
Cup.
Okay. Okay.
I will from shoe game to style of non racing clothes to music taste to just as a whole.
I agree.
I will say if I'm not top one, I'm top three.
Raja, you make me want to audit your Instagram.
What does
Now I
that
just
mean?
I want to go through it and see, because
Go
if you have
ahead.
the most drip, because we only follow each other on Twitter, I think. If you
Go
have
ahead.
the most drip, you got to start posting like a Formula One driver, Raja.
No, have you seen his social media? It is so good.
I've seen his Twitter. We don't follow
Yes.
each other on
Oh no,
Instagram.
Twitter,
his
I just BS.
Instagram.
Twitter, I just BS. I
You're
mean,
chilling.
I'm more or less just quote tweeting stuff and trying to be funny. And talking
You
about,
are funny
talking
on
about
Twitter.
sport.
Do
You
you
are
know
funny
who
on
else
Twitter.
can dress? Your dad. So I see
Oh yeah,
Raj's dad. He is so cute. Like Raj is racing, his dad's in the fan zone, grabbing a snack or whatever. He always comes and talks to me, and I'm like, this man from head to toe is
drip down.
always on point, just sharp. Finish the phrase, the way to my heart is food.
I was about to say food.
I don't know. Listening. I don't know.
Okay, that's sweet.
I
Or
like that.
I don't know. Just being nice. I don't know. I feel people are like, "What is something that you would say?" I'm just like, bro, just be nice, man. Like, bottom line.
Yeah.
I feel like that encapsulates a lot of things, whether it's like listening to somebody or just treating people the right way or whatever. I feel like that is just a overarching good concept. Just be nice. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I always say treat people the way I want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next question. Would you ever appear on a reality show?
Probably not. Probably not. I would like if they. So y'all remember how well, obviously it hasn't. Well, I wasn't live for some of these, but like you see, like Dale Earnhardt or Jeff Gordon have like movie roles and stuff of being like a getaway driver or things of that nature and stuff like that. Like that
That
would
would
be
be
cool.
cool. That would be so
As far as
cool.
a reality show though, like you will not catch me on like Love Island or something like that, or like The Circle. Like nah, bro.
You're not gonna be on TV talking about how you have banter with people.
No,
we have
bro.
banter.
That's funny.
We
That's
have banter.
funny.
Is it good banter? Is it bad banter?
Oh
What are
no,
you
God.
saying?
I would rather banner about sports betting.
There we go.
Basketball.
Sports betting.
Basketball, not racing. Like I
Yeah.
said, my friends haven't even. They will literally not let me learn how to bet on sports because then they know I'm gonna develop an addiction like Michael Jordan.
You'll dive into it. Okay, I'm sure you get this a lot too. Who is your hero?
Probably my dad, to be honest. Just of knowing kind of where he came from with my aunties and my uncles and my grandma and them immigrating here from the Caribbean and just the sacrifices they made and he's made to put my sister and I in position to just do whatever we want to do and support us. I'd say it's him. That's it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Such a good
And then we
answer.
found out your hidden talent, right?
Oh,
Juggling.
Juggling.
Okay, let's rapid fire through Raja's talents. Okay, Raja can juggle.
I can juggle.
We saw that. Raja can also balance things on his nose.
That's correct.
Impressive. We were literally, before this started, balancing things on our nose.
It's just not happening for me.
See? Oh, it
It's
fell.
not that hard. It's
I
not
balanced
that
for a long time before this started. Okay, this was a whole thing.
That's not fair.
You got to put it lower. So, like, you know how your nose kind of goes out at the end? It has to
Oh,
go
no.
in this little
I might
area.
have a straight nose or
It
something.
has to go in this. See, I have a big bump
I'll
on my nose.
practice later.
Oh, incredible. All right. We have 2 more questions. And the first one is, what have been some of the biggest challenges for you with both online and in-person racing?
Really, it's the mental game because so much of driving is a mental thing. It's uh, how your body feels certain things, how you interpret certain vibrations, certain motions, certain things that you see and experience. And so it's not the same for anybody or for everybody. So that's one thing that's interesting. And also just from a competitor standpoint, it is so hard to do racing just because if you win a little bit, you're doing good just because of how hard it is to win. It's not like basketball where if you're doing really good, you're winning, you know, 50 or 60 or 70 games out of your 80 games of the year, right? If you're good in racing, you're winning multiple races, if that maybe double digits, but otherwise you don't win that much. And so I think that adjustment from a confidence level, from a mental health standpoint,
Mhm.
was a big thing that I had to learn. And still learning, but I think I've done a good job of not having an inherent negative bias or mindset because of, like I said, like you just don't win that much in racing. And so and I think that's good and bad because it shows the cream of the crop are that good, but also it's like, well, you got to keep plugging away, and it shows how hard your mid pack guys and trucks, Xfinity and Cup work because it takes so much to win. So I think the mental stuff is the biggest thing.
I think the thing you mentioned about feeling things and the mental side of it, like different vibrations and stuff like that. So when you're racing, sometimes it's really up to the driver to go, oh, something's wrong with the car. Like, I have a loose wheel. I have something like this and this. Do you ever doubt yourself because you have less experience in a real car going, oh, I don't know if that's a vibrate. I don't know if this is that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
100%. 100%. I think about my days like at like late model tests and stuff. I'm like, man, I feel like I have a weird vibration, and it's like sometimes it would be nothing. Sometimes it would be
Yeah.
rubber knocking around in the wheel well. Or actually, one time I had a hub going bad, in the left front, and so that was an actual time that I did have something that I felt. So um, as I've gotten more, I've learned to trust myself and learn like you have different harmonics, and there's stuff like, I mean, you'll have tire harmonics, and that doesn't mean a tire is going down, but it's like, well, based on how you use that tire, the previous corner or the change in the racetrack, that's going to feel a certain way. And so with my experience, I've just got more confident in my senses because I mean, if you think about people that have, fortunately, I've not injured my back, but I've injured my knee, not racing, doing other things. And so that within itself already changes how my senses are for like using pedals, for example, or how my hips feel. Whereas people that have maybe had back injuries or shoulder injuries, and that could not affect it in a bad way, but just kind of change how they feel things, how they perform. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I think is honestly a cool equalizer about racing because you're not limited to your height or your weight class and things of that nature, right? The car, although the cars and trucks are different, and that is not the equalizer. I think from a physical standpoint, from an able-bodied standpoint, it's beautiful because it helps even the playing field to where obviously not every sport is co-ed, but racing can be co-ed. Even if someone has special needs, right, they can still have the chance to drive a race car with necessary changes. So I think that's one thing that's cool about it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just have one quick question. I know we have one last one. We got
I
to let
also
you
had
go.
another one pop in my head.
Sorry. I was
Cool.
just
That's
thinking
cool.
too,
Down to
because
both.
living that the iRacing life for a while and then switching over to reality. When you were ever in like a truck or an Xfinity car and say you were sitting there for a pit stop, it's in seconds. These guys are doing a choreographed dance around your car, changing your tires, giving you fuel. Did you ever have that moment of like, I'm this is real. I'm really in a car. This is happening right now.
Ooh, yeah.
Holy cow.
Definitely not that dramatic, but definitely have had moments of like, oh, this is legit happening. I can think about
Yeah.
like Richmond and Darlington, for example, right? You in Homestead, you don't do a lot of like tire scrubbing under caution because the surface is so abrasive, and so you just have a lot of just kind of pacing of just not doing that much. And so the thing about races at those tracks, I'm like, man, this is actually really cool. Like
Mm-hmm.
having the chance to be out here and compete, and be competitive, because a lot of times you can just be a driver and just be making laps, but to be competitive is another thing that not many people can say. So it's really special.
Oh, I love that. I had a random one come to my head, and obviously this has been in here for a while. What is the spec on your Chevy SS? Because the Chevy
Oh,
SS is
it's
one of my
stock.
favorite cars.
Yeah, so I'm so glad I have that car. So I remember the first year the Gen 6 came out, and I'm like, man, that thing looks so
So
awesome.
good.
So awesome. And so I haven't done anything to it. I'm thinking about in the off season getting it shipped out west, and I know what's his name? I think Ryan from West Coast Customs, and
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna let him kind of dabble in it because I know enough about race cars to like do stuff to the truck that I drive or Xfinity car or whatever, or late models or ARCA cars, but not to a daily driver. And the SS is not supposed to be a daily driver, but I definitely would am gonna want to do some stuff to the exhaust because, like, I don't know, I'm not a I'm a pretty tame driver on the road. I mean, that I don't have a need to, I don't know, drive fast, and so I don't have a need to soup up like the engine or make that thing like 700 horsepower. Like I don't have that desire. I don't have the need to do that. I'm not going to take that thing to autocross or a track day or anything like that. So, but I love the way it sounds. So I would like to take it to probably West Coast Customs and let them boys work at it and make it a little cooler.
Am I remembering correctly? Is it orange?
It's black. It's black.
Oh, it's black. Okay. Okay. I thought it was orange. I look at Chevy SSs all the time, so they all blend together. Okay. Last question about it. Is it an automatic or is it a stick?
It is unfortunately an automatic. I got
They
it
made a lot of
from
autos.
from Kalamazoo, like some auction place last
Mm-hmm.
year. There was a manual one in Nashville, but it was white and time wise, it just worked out to the one in Kalamazoo.
They made like they didn't make a lot of Chevy SSs. If you're listening, the Chevy SS was based on the Holden Commodore, and they
Mm-hmm.
brought it over here. Did not sell a bunch of them at all. It is one of the coolest cars in the world, but about I think 3/4 of the ones they sold were autos, and the ones with manuals are usually really high mileage. So,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
last question of the podcast. We ask everybody this, and it's what fuels you. In other words, what motivates you the most?
Sunoco. Just kidding. Shout out
That's the
Sunoco.
first. That was awesome.
That was cute.
Sunoco and Celsius. Nah, but for me, it's just my passion. I think racing's the thing I think about the most. It's so much fun to me. Um, Not just the driving, but the spectacle of the sport. I said that I don't like the attention. I don't like all the glitz and glam and all that stuff, and I don't. But I know that comes with success, and I've accepted that that's part of this life for me now. Hopefully, as long as I perform well. So for me, my why is just my passion. And that's it. That's it. I mean, that's
awesome.
honestly really it.
That's
Yeah.
enough. Oh my goodness. Raja, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate
Thank you.
Raja is the best. Like I said, it's so cool that Raja pays attention to other people. Raja obviously wants people to pay attention to him. He said listening is important, being nice is important. Like, I think he is just very deep and like has a lot of
Yeah.
knowledge, especially for being 21 years old. Like, he's a very good person, I think.
He is. What is so funny is I was, thinking about me at age 21. Yes, I was studying, I was in school, but not to the degree this guy is. I feel like he is showcasing a lot of success in his future. He's already had success in his short amount of time at the racetrack, but his focus, his passion, his love, his drive, it is all there. And it was nice just to get a different perspective from him because I've really only gotten a chance to catch up with him at the track.
Mhm.
So it was nice for us to be able to sit down with him and really see, he's truly an old soul in like a 21-year-old body. It is
Mhm.
really cool.
Oh, that was so much fun. I really do like him and appreciate him, and it's so cool to see him do well. I think he's a good person, and I like when you're able to meet good people doing well in a field. And it was very cool to be able to have him for like 45 minutes today for
Yeah.
everybody to learn more about him.
He gave us a lot of his time. And not
Oh,
only is he a good person, he's a great driver coming from,
such a good driver.
the virtual world and making it a reality. That's a hard thing to do, and he's doing it.
And showing that it's possible, because so often it feels like there's really one way to race, right? You start when you're 5, you start in a real car, you pay a lot of money to wreck cars and replace cars. And he didn't do that. And he's still finding success. And I think it shows the world that there are other ways to get into professional racing. And he just represents a lot for a lot of people.
Agreed. Yeah.
And Monica, you have Kansas coming up, don't you?
I do. So I haven't even my suitcase has just been sitting in my on my bedroom floor for weeks now. I just come home, open it, wash clothes, change
back
out for
in.
the weekend. I can't really buy too many clothes at this point because I'm 8 months pregnant, about to go into my 9th month, and I don't want to buy too many clothes. So if you see me at the track wearing the same thing, I'm super sorry.
Do not, do
I'm
not
not
blame
buying
her.
any more clothes. But anyways, yes, heading out to Kansas. I love it out there. The Midwest, of course, they're known for their barbecue, even though I'm from North Carolina. We're known for our barbecue, completely different styles and taste. But the
Mhm.
racing out there is fantastic. I'm just curious to see if we're going to have a new winner, because it seems like William Byron and Denny Hamlin seem to be taking that checkered flag recently.
All the
Well, a lot
time.
this year. So
I love a good
be fun.
Kansas race. I am going to Miami. So I will be in Miami when this airs. I will be hosting a big live podcast with my new job at the Motorsport Network. So I now work at Motor1Motorsport.com and Inside EVs. So I will be out there hosting this giant panel of podcasts for like 7 hours on
Oh,
Thursday.
wow.
And then I'm going to go to the beach. And then, unfortunately, I don't get to stay for the Formula One race because I have to come home to go to a memorial service. But
Oh,
I
no.
am going to Miami, and then I am coming back.
Well, hopefully, at least you get to enjoy the beach, right? If you're in
I'm going
Miami, you have to
tomorrow.
go.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
going to the beach tomorrow. But Monica, I think you said you have 2 races left
Yeah.
before it
So
is time to be on baby watch.
the last time I can fly will be for the Kansas race. I'll be in Darlington, and I should have been in North Wilkesboro and Charlotte, but I'm nervous to go into labor at the racetrack. There is an infield care center, but I don't think they specialize in giving birth. So, I'm gonna be smart
Okay,
and
but
yeah,
objectively, it would be kind of a funny story to tell if it all went well. If
yeah.
you went to the infield care
I
center to
did.
give birth at North
Yeah.
Wilkesboro.
Could you imagine? I did joke around this past weekend in Dover, because I did have a little mild contraction, which is normal. You have what's called, anyways, Braxton Hicks, and it's normal at this point. And so I was joking around. I held my belly like, oh, it's because it's not like the movies. Like these guys I work with think it's like the movies.
Oh
So, I
no.
pretend like, oh my God, I'm having a contraction. They're like, hold on, sit down. Sit down. Do you need water? It's the only time that my coworkers baby me, but I have to coax them into it and joke. I'm like, I'm fine.
Okay, hear me out. We have the story about Jimmy Johnson looking up at the TV and continuing to see your face every single lap. Can you imagine the story you would have if you had a child at North Wilkesboro?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm going into labor on the big screen.
On the big screen. Go to the big screen.
Guess what, guys?
Oh!
Yeah, I gotta go. I'm having contractions. Enjoy the race.
Jimmy
Yeah.
Johnson would continue to have nightmares.
For sure.
Oh my goodness. But we're not going to do that. You're going to stay
No.
home.
Yes.
I am so happy for you. I hope everything goes well flying to Kansas this weekend. I always enjoy my time with you. I enjoyed Rajah today. This was such a good episode of Mics
This
and
was
Hot.
fun. Yes, great hanging out with you and Rajah. And thank you all for tuning in to Mics Are Hot.